There are so many rumors going around that the iPhone 14 base model will have the exact same chip or SoC that the iPhone 13 has. But if you went into the Apple Store and said, give me the latest iPhone, and they gave you an iPhone 14, could you tell the difference? Does it actually matter if you could tell the difference or not? In the end, isn't perception reality? Let's get into it. There are so many things we can tackle with regards to overpopulation of technological devices, from e-waste to marketing concepts to just the way that big companies like Apple and Samsung want us to pay them heaps and heaps of money every single year for the latest model, even if it's just a small iteration. In today's video though, we're going to touch on, does perception create the reality for the customer? My name is Tuvia and welcome back to another episode. Let's run through the latest iPhone 14 rumors off the top. So, with regards to the iPhone 14 base model, what we know today is it'll have the same body as the iPhone 13, same camera array, same chipset, and overall the exact same model, just with a new name. So it's basically an iPhone 13 with some makeup. How does the saying go? You dress up a pig with makeup? It's still just a pig, isn't it? Before we continue, if you've loved the content on this channel, be that kind girl guy and hit the like button and subscribe for more of this great content. So after so many years since the old iPhone 6, it's about time that Apple has finally been hit with logistics problems. I mean, in a world post-COVID and during COVID when chipsets were so sought after, Apple managed to navigate that very well. But no one in this world is immune, and Apple has finally been hit with the problem that so many companies have faced. So to tackle that, they've decided we're going to jump on and lean into the differentiation between the base model iPhones and the higher end iPhone Pros that we saw last year. Not only will there be a different camera array, a different set of cameras, there's also going to be an actual practical difference in performance and graphics performance overall. Because the iPhone Pro models are going to get the latest Apple A16 chips versus the iPhone base models, which are just going to get the same very capable SoC that we saw in the iPhone 13, which is at A15 Bionic. So how does Apple swing this? I mean, if they're just introducing a model called the iPhone 14, where in fact it's the iPhone 13, how can they provide value to customers? In Apple's true fashion, they won't leave customers behind. They'll have to introduce something which creates a fresh new design to get this model, be it new machine learning on the iPhone 14, be it some camera features that are only available on iPhone 14, or even something simple like a higher refresh rate on the iPhone 14 models. Going to 90 Hz, maybe even 120 in promotion, who knows? Either way, there will certainly be something as that hook, that value proposition for them to get on stage and go, the iPhone 14, it's the best model yet.
These are the best iPhones we've ever created.
But what does this mean from a customer perspective? And really there are two customer types which will be affected. The first one is your average consumer. Shout out to Jannah. In reality, this average consumer will walk into the Apple Store or any of the major retailers, and if they're in the buying cycle for a new model and they like Apple anyway, the chances are they'll go straight to the service counter and say, can I please have the latest iPhone model? They'll be handed an iPhone 14 base model. They'll have a discussion, is a Pro better for them or not? But there'll be no discussion of the iPhone 13. No discussion that the iPhone 14 chipset is essentially the iPhone 13 chipset. And so in reality, this average consumer will go purchase the iPhone 14 and be none the wiser that in the past, this exact same model was brought out last year. And again, it doesn't matter because for that person, their perception is that the iPhone 14 is the latest model. So for them, having that perception that I have the latest model, irrespective of what that model has, will be the reality. They can still take their photos, they can still manage to do all their Apple ecosystem things like iMessage and work seamlessly with their Macs and iPads. But we all know, us techie people, that really that's just an iPhone 13 with a new set of paint on top. Which brings us to that second consumer, the actual tech-savvy consumer who does their research. For them, when they were going into the Apple Store, they probably wouldn't even look at the base models. They're going to go straight to the Pro models. And so whether or not an iPhone 14 base model exists is kind of irrelevant for them. They're still going to get the Pro model. If they want something cheaper, they can opt for potentially to go look for an iPhone 13 on Amazon or another marketplace to see if they can get it on the cheap. but they're never going to buy the iPhone 14. And Apple knows that because the phone is not for them. So their reality and their perception doesn't change either. They're always going to go to the pros, and there will be a model for them as well. So Apple in the infinite knowledge knows this and have purposefully and presumably based on rumors will be differentiating quite a lot between the two models. I did a little poll which I put on the screen now on Twitter, and of my followers there's a 50-50 split between people who actually know what chips in their iPhone or in their phone in general. So the 50% who don't know will go in and be that average consumer and ask for the base model and be happy with it. The other 50% will probably opt for a different model, a different device, potentially a different brand, but they won't go for that iPhone 14 model. What we do know, however, is that average consumer is leaning towards becoming the savvy or the tech-savvy consumer. Apple's a massive brand. This rumor, if true, will definitely be newsworthy. So there is this gamble. Apple will do it, but potentially the customer will know about it. Does it really make a difference? And I think based on the poll that I had, yes, it was only a short sample, but I think there's enough people for Apple to rely on that who'll just go in and ask for the latest model, irrespective of what it actually has. This perception and the knowledge that customers want what's best for them brings me to an interesting topic. Back in the late 2000s, Apple was introducing new phones year on year as they do today, but there was a slight difference in how they were marketing them. We had an iPhone 4, and then an iPhone 4S. We had an iPhone 5, an iPhone 5S, an iPhone 6, 6S, and so on until we reached the iPhone 7S, where it kind of stopped. And then we went to the 8, and then we had the 10, the 11, the 12, the 13, and the naming conventions changed dramatically. And in reality, the reason why Apple did this was to say it's not just a small jump, an S iteration, but a massive jump. And they can get on stage and say,
These are the best iPhones we've ever created.
But potentially, with this new iPhone 14 base model, is Apple bringing back their S naming convention? For me, I think it's quite a big possibility. If you're wanting to not upset the masses, it makes sense to me to introduce new systems features or new hardware features based on a particular model, whilst not upgrading the performance or the graphics performance too much. And having an iPhone 13s covers those bases. They can have an iPhone 13s and an iPhone 14 Pro, potentially. Yes, it doesn't flow off the tongue, but at least there's a clear delineation between the two. What happens next year? Who knows? Maybe they'll go back to the same naming convention. But I think if Apple want to be smart about how they're going to market these, they can cut away all the noise by simply calling it an S upgrade. And by doing that, they're not only telling customers, yes, this is an upgrade, but it's only a minor upgrade. If you want a major upgrade, go to the pros, or potentially just hang on back for an iPhone 13 or 12 for last year's model. They're also saying to the pro customers, hey, you want something better? Go for those pro models, because that's where you'll see all the feature upgrades, the performance, the graphics changes, and of course, those camera upgrades too. So all in all, Apple have really put themselves in a little bit of a pickle. Yes, it wasn't necessarily their fault, but they've got to come up with a marketing solution that suits their customer bases, both their tech-savvy customer bases, but also their average consumers. How they do that, I'm sure Apple will come up with some great marketing strategy, but I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think in the comments below. How will Apple tackle this latest challenge? I'd love to hear what you think. And of course, once again, be that cool person, give us a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you here next time. As always, do that extra little good deed to bring a little light in the world. Till next time.